understand how does the VPC peering works, right? So before understanding a VPC peering or the functions of a VPC peering, first let's understand how does the communication happens within VPC and VPC to VPC, all right? Or in other words, a communication between different VMs within VPC, or a communication between VMs from different VPC, all right? So this is situation one, or the scenario one, where we have one VPC, okay? We have one VPC where I have two different VMs in two different region. Okay, one is at US Central 1. The VM1 is deployed in US Central 1, and VM2 is deployed in Asia South 1, which is nothing but Mumbai. All right, fine, but they are part of same VPC. So as you know, whenever we create any VM instance, two IP addresses will be created. One is internal and the other one is external IP addresses. So internal IP addresses is nothing but the private IP address, whereas the external IP address is the public IP address, right? So whenever there is a communication that happens between or within the VM, it makes use of internal IP addresses. Or okay, like say for example, as soon as you create this VM, right? For an example, I'm telling, okay, you'll be means there may be an IP address like 10.10. I'm just giving a rough example, 10.2. As like the same, here there would be like 10.20.20.2. As like the same, this consider that this is an internal IP, okay, and there may be an external IP get assigned. Okay, maybe let's ignore about the external IP, but anyway, there may be an external IP get assigned like 32.36.76.72, something like that. I just took a random, right? As same here also, like 2.2.2.3. Just I'm taking some random IP. Okay, this is internal, and the next one is external, right? So for the communication between different VMs within the same VPC, okay, it always makes use of internal IP addresses. Okay, as like how it works in the private network, right? The LAN. Okay, though it is spread across the globe, it is a part of same VPC. So the communication is happening using the internal IP addresses of the different VM. All right. So this is how it works when we try to connect a different VM instance within same VPC. All right, fine. So in the next slide, let's understand like how it works when it comes to different VPC. Okay, with the same situation, just consider that we have a two different we have two different VPCs as earlier, like VPC1 and VPC2. Okay, so as you know earlier, VPC1 we have already deployed VM1 and VM2. VM1 is already deployed in Iowa Central 1, US Central 1, that is at Iowa, and VM2 is deployed at Asia South, which is in Mumbai. Okay, just consider within the same project you have created one more VPC as per the requirement, and you have deployed this VM under again maybe within Asia South 1 Mumbai. Okay, but this is a different VPC. Okay, so the reason why I have taken the same Asia South 1 here and here is just to ensure you that it's not that even if you are using the same region, the communication will be happening through the internal IP. Okay, so though we are using the same region, it is again part of two different VPCs. So the communication will never happen using the internal IP addresses. Okay, earlier in the previous scenario we have seen when the communication is happening between this VM to VM, as it is a part of a same VPC, it makes use of internal IP addresses. But if you see here, this is VPC1 and VPC2. If we want to communicate, or if this VM2 want to connect with VM1, or this VM1 want to connect with VM2, so basically this communication here or here, right? It will never use the internal IP. It will not use the internal IP because they belongs to two different VPCs. Okay, so in that case, how the traditional way of connection happens is, but of course we can establish a communication between this VM to this VM, but it is not, we cannot make it using the internal IP. So the communication may happen using the external external IP addresses, which is nothing but the public IP addresses. So when I say the communication is happening using the external IP addresses, anyway, this is through the internet. Okay, this is through the internet where the external IP address of this particular VM is exposed to internet, and this as well is exposed to the internet, and with that through internet we can establish the communication. Okay, we may need a complex network configurations for it. So this is the traditional way of working. Okay, so now we understood about the traditional way of working, and in order to make it simplify, okay, in order to make it simplified, and instead of making the communication through the external IP exposing it to internet, so VPC peering is introduced. Okay, all right, fine. So what happens now? So VPC peering is establish a communication between two different VPCs that's running in two whatever region it is. The thing is, once you establish a VPC peering, it will uh, it will work, or it will establish the communication using the internal IP, not the external one. Okay, that is the main advantage of using the VPC peering. It can be of different VPCs within a same project, or even using a VPC peering, we can establish a communication between VPCs of different project. Like say for example, this VPC one belong to project. Just for example, I'm telling project A, and this belongs to project B. Even in that situation, even irrespective of a different project, we can establish the communication, okay, using VPC peering. Or even if both are in the same project but different VPC, that is also possible. Okay, so long story short, VPC helps us to establish a communication between VM instances or any resources that is running in a different VPCs, either within the same project or in the different project. Okay, all right. So it helps us avoiding exposing our public IP addresses, because it's not happening through the public IP, right? Because in the traditional way, we're exposing the public IP, the external IP over the internet, and through that the communication is happening, and for that we are making a complex configurations. Whereas VPC simplifies the configuration, and it is not exposing our public IP address to the internet. It's making the communication in a secured way and a simplified way. So this is what it is. So in the next video, let's understand how to configure it in each situation.